Games like that are what make you a franchise quarterback. Like by the strictest definition, not just franchise quarterback, but like the guys. Games like that. And for Justin Herbert, the Justin Herbert discourse has always been tricky because the eye test cuts both ways with him. So if you were to be like, hey, what's your evidence that Justin Herbert is better than Brock Purdy? You really can't present it other than,
look at
I know it. Like, and even Bruce, a Purdy guy.
I like
but it's like, well, who wins more? Brock? Who has better stats? Brock? Who has playoff success? Brock? Who's better? Oh, it's the other guy. Right. So, like, but you just know it. But the other side to that eye test has been, what's the evidence that some of this, the mediocrity of his teams and those records in close games fall on him? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I watch the games. And I've seen a lot of spots where critical moments, there's plays to be made, he doesn't make them. Most famously is the second half of the playoff game, but it's not always that egregious. Just the previous week, multiple fourth down completions short of the sticks, and just like little things where it's like, that it factor that I can't prove to you. I can't show you an EPA or a quarterback rating, but I feel myself that I'm a pretty discerning football watcher, and the same reason I know he's better than Tua when that was the big debate. I know he's better than Brock. I also know he is, in his career, come up short in a lot of these moments. Yeah. And last night, he did all of the things you want your star quarterback to do with his legs, with his arm, with his poise. The Broncos obviously lack of poise, and some of their mistakes helped him. But, yeah, so this is the player that he's always had the talent to be. And in order to be that guy, you don't have to do this every time your team's down 10, but like Mahomes does seemingly, but you have to do it some of the time your team's down 10, like the other great quarterbacks do.
You know what's interesting with him? And last night he broke the record for most completions by a player before they turn 27, before a quarterback before he turns 27. But also he has the most come-from-behind touchdowns or go-ahead touchdowns in the fourth quarter or overtime since 2021. Here's the list. So he's number one with 12.
Weird.
Stafford, Geno, a couple of Knicks guys on there, Dak, Cousin. Yeah. It's a weird list, but he tops it. So you're right, Nick. I mean, I said yesterday, I talked about him having to beat good teams, him having to win close games, and yet he does own that
those. That's
record.
why I said you can't prove, like, it's almost an eye test.
I got to be honest. I put a lot of it, and you guys know this, on Staley. I'm sorry, Brandon Staley, like his previous coach. He had Anthony Lynn as a rookie. Then he had Staley for several years, for what, 3 years. And now he's got Harbaugh. So he's got all the physical tools. He's tough physically. Like last night, he's even playing through an ankle injury. And the question is, will he have those intangibles? I'm going to say this too, though, and Harbaugh's done a great job. When I watched that game last night, you know what I'm saying? Unleashing. Throw the ball more. They don't have a Derrick Henry, a Saquon Barkley, even a Josh Jacobs in the backfield, with all due respect to Dobbins and Gus Edwards. But he is throwing the ball. 23 quarterbacks throw it more than him.
They don't have the people to throw it to. His number one weapon is a rookie wide receiver right now. His other weapon can't catch the ball. Oh, my God. I don't understand. Okay. So they had not talked a lot about Justin Herbert over this season and during the offseason. And this is the most I've ever really watched these shows. I've always watched these shows, but it was always, I didn't have a channel like this, obviously. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, did not know that this was the type of conversations that were had around Justin Herbert. I didn't know it was actually genuinely up for debate how elite and how great Justin Herbert is. I had no idea. I really didn't. Probably also because in terms of the sports shows that I watched more than anything, it was definitely The Herd. Again, now I watch so much more because of this channel, but my main channel, the main shows that I watched were really The Herd over everything, and everything else was kind of just like kind of extra. And Colin has always been a Justin Herbert fan. And so I'm going to probably get a lot of positive stuff from him over the years. And a little bit of also back when Speak for Yourself was like an actual like legitimate show with like Marcellus Wiley and whatnot. And I think Marcellus Wiley used to talk very highly of Justin Herbert, especially because of his Chargers background. And so when I see these kind of conversations unfold, it really does kind of break my brain here. It really does. Because I'm just like again, what are we talking about? This team, this franchise, the coaching staff, it's been an absolute mess. An absolute mess. Justin Herbert had 1 year with a competent offensive mind, and that was Shane Steichen, and he was unleashed. Then Shane Steichen left. And then, Justin Herbert was caught in this disarray of just weird coaching, inconsistent weapons, whether because of injury or whatnot. We expect him to be able to overcome all of these things. The fact that he's even been consistently like a 90-plus passer rating quarterback, which Nick uses as a way to actually kind of downplay him and say that he's actually not that good, it's actually pretty amazing that he has been as consistent as he has been. And so again, this idea, they need to like unleash Justin Herbert. To who? Like, now, like, what? Now you have to just trust what Harbaugh wants to do with this offense now. Like, this for the most part is the same roster as it was last year, and yet the team is like literally twice as better as they were now. I mean, like, they are significantly better. The defense is better. The offense is better. Justin Herbert is better. Like, I don't even understand. And there was no debate about Justin Herbert versus Tua or Purdy or anyone. Like what? I understand why Miami Dolphins fans, because I recently said that Justin Herbert's better than Baker Mayfield, and that, the Baker Mayfield fans online are very intense. And it's like, again, it's not even an actual debate to me. It's not even a conversation. It's really not. And then, like, Brew was just like, oh, the question was about his intangibles. There's no question about his intangibles. There's no question about how great Justin Herbert is. He's just a perfect example of why you need players and coaches around you, no matter how great you are. That's what he represents. I mean, and again, I said this the other day, because of his style of play, he's not the type of quarterback that week in and week out, just from a physicality, because, I mean, he is a big guy, but he's still different than a Josh Allen and Lamar, that he can't just carry the weight of the world on his shoulders week after week after week. Neither can Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes isn't as physically gifted as Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Or Joe Burrow. Let's put Joe Burrow in that, because those are all the top 4 quarterbacks that everyone always talks about. Joe Burrow also can't physically, carry teams like a Josh Allen or a Lamar. And like I said, that's not a negative on Herbert or Burrow for that matter. And when I say that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson can more physically carry a team than, say, a Patrick Mahomes, that's not me saying that those quarterbacks are better than Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes over Lamar Jackson. So it's that's what I'm saying. It's a more complicated conversation when you're talking about how much can a player carry their team versus how great are they, and can they play within a system, and can they attack, etc., etc. So this constant ongoing conversation, like, impressed with Justin. I'm so on the fence, because on one side, like, a question like this, if you say I'm impressed by them, then that means you weren't, and to some degree, it means you weren't expecting it. Like, impressed? Like, you're typically only impressed if you don't expect it. Like, I expect it from Justin Herbert. I expect this. So I can't necessarily say I'm impressed, but at the same time, I know that I expect greatness from Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, and yet I can still say, wow, I was impressed by that play. I don't know. It's hard to really put into words in this exact moment because it feels like it's more coming from a place from them that this being impressed is kind of like, well, this is what I've been waiting to see, or this is what I expect to see. The Chargers are not this top great team right now from a roster construction alone. And having Harbaugh, like, this is a rebuild. They don't have a run game. They don't have offensive weapons. Justin Herbert did need to rely on some heroics with his legs, with his physicality, with his throws. Again, he's making unbelievable plays and throws to people that, like I said, 99% of the fans out there don't even know their names. And he does not have that go-to security blanket to rely on. Right, he does not have a Derrick Henry. He does not have a Travis Kelce. He does not have an A.J. Brown. He does not have a Jamar Chase. He doesn't have that. Maybe one day, maybe that's who his wide receiver right now will eventually become, but not today. So the fact that he's even got this team to 9 wins is wildly impressive. And he's on a bad ankle. They were just praising Mahomes yesterday about Patrick Mahomes being injured on the ankle and how he can step up. I didn't know we couldn't have like real conversations about Justin Herbert. I didn't know that. Honestly, I really didn't know that. This is like, I think I might have sensed it earlier on in the season, but now that I continue to see these conversations unfold, I didn't realize that was actual part of the conversation of Justin Herbert. I knew some fans, because I get it, because anytime you saw some top 10 lists, like that's actually when I first got the feeling of it, when during the offseason and we're all just trying our best to make content and whatnot, and they're like, who are the top 10 quarterbacks? What are tier 1 quarterbacks and tier 2 quarterbacks? And anytime Justin Herbert was listed in the top 10, I would read the comments, and a lot of fans would like kind of get mad. How is Justin Herbert up there? And it was usually like, if it was depending on the list, it was either like Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy or Tua was left off the top 10, or Baker Mayfield left off the top 10, whoever it was. And it was always that fan base that would typically be like, how's Herbert up there? What has he done? He's never won any playoff games, and et cetera, et cetera. And again, Nick Wright, I almost missed this part. I forgot to say this. Like, again, it's further proof that you can't just use stats and wins and losses and playoff wins as evidence as how great or bad a quarterback is. Because he's saying, Brock Purdy has all these stats and these wins. Yes, and you should know that Justin Herbert is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. It's almost like wins and playoff wins and stats aren't everything. And they say, like, all you can do is trust your eye test. That actually matters more than anything else. It matters more than anything else. It's why I say that Lamar Jackson doesn't choke in big games. A lot of the people that jump to people playing choke or underperforming, I think are people that have never actually been part of that, have never actually seen up close and personal players choking or themselves choking when playing a sport. It's a very specific experience. And it's not just losing. That's why that is one of my biggest pet peeves in sports. When people say, oh, so-and-so choked. No, that's not what happened. They just lost. Or they just had a bad game. Or it was a bad game plan, or it was a bad throw, a bad shot, whatever sport it is. It's not choking. Or this idea that it was like Justin Herbert's fault for their lack of playoff success. Okay, sure. Whatever you say. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Los Angeles Chargers? Are you impressed with Justin Herbert? Are you shocked that he was able to lead a team from behind and win? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.